Welcome to the It's Been Said podcast. I'm your host, Executive Director Lisa Ramey. Today's episode is a special edition of the It's Been Said podcast. Dr. Dana Schon, Associate Executive Director of Professional Learning, will discuss her perspective on leadership life fit. She'll offer her insights on this topic periodically over the coming months. Let's hear from Dana.
Hi, this is Dana Schon and the Leadership Life Fit podcast. In this episode, we're talking about overthinking. I don't know about you, but I have been struggling to get into a consistent workout routine. My recent self-talk sounds something like this. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up and complete that 25-minute weights routine I've queued up on my cell phone with my favorite trainer. I feel good about this plan at 10 o'clock at night. It's a short workout. I'll be able to complete it and still have time for the rest of my morning routine. At 5:30 a.m., it's a bit of a different story. I start rethinking. I start overthinking. Will I have enough time for my regular morning routine? Maybe I should finish that agenda I've been working on or take care of a couple of emails. Maybe I could just get that workout in after work. Only, you know how that goes. Things crop up after work, time gets away, and then so does the workout. We could talk about issues of motivation and prioritization in this example, but today we're sticking with overthinking. Because overthinking isn't just about overanalyzing a decision to work out, for example. It's about ruminating over a past decision or replaying that conversation in your mind that you might have had earlier with an upset parent or an upset staff member, especially when we have feelings of regret or guilt involved. We rehash it, we rethink it, we wonder what if, we think could have, would have, should have done differently. Overthinking in this case of rumination is about quadruple checking your work to avoid mistakes. I've been there. I've read that email 5 different times to make sure it's going to land just the way I want. Overthinking also looks like attempting to plan for any eventuality, right? So I avoid a decision because I'm going to gather more information to make the right decision, as if there is only one decision. In the work of leadership, we often deal with wicked problems, not necessarily those technical problems. So remember, the wicked problems are those that are complex, that defy a single solution, the ones that have multiple possible solutions. And we just play out the one that seems the best with the information that we have at any given point in time. But when we overthink it, we want all of that extra information that just simply isn't available to us so we can make that right decision. And then it's doubting our own analysis of a situation. So I might think I have it all kind of sorted out with a decision on my mind, but yet I start to doubt and second guess. Or I might struggle to prioritize. And so then I get lost in the glut of unmade decisions. All of these things are the result of overthinking. Overthinking is also about deliberating every possible future scenario before taking any action. It's really about overcomplicating things. Sometimes I think we're good about that. Or maybe I speak for myself. I know I can be really good at overcomplicating something when sometimes simple works really well and it actually is best. Regardless, the results are the same. When we get caught in overthinking, it slows our decision making. And you know how that happens. People lose interest. They experience our overthinking as leaders as spinning our wheels, having the same conversation over and over, not getting anywhere. So not only does overthinking have negative impact on your health, causes stress, it causes overwhelm, it causes burnout, none of which we know contributes to a quality leadership life fit. But our culture suffers as well. People don't see progress toward vision and goals. They see us at Groundhog Day, right? Reliving the same decision over and over, and they start to become skeptical and they avoid risk taking. They don't want to ask about whether they should try something new because deliberating around all of the multiple pathways forward is exhausting. We only have so much energy in the tank. So do our staff, our teachers. They don't want to spend that time trying to play out every scenario. They want to try something new. And so they shut that down because there's still plenty of other work to do without innovating and taking risks. Obviously, it is important to deliberate and give appropriate consideration to decisions that have the most impact on your priorities. This absolutely is not about avoiding thoughtful, reflective, analytical thinking. It's about keeping our thinking productive and the use of our energy put toward that thinking productive. As leaders, you make hundreds of decisions a day. That alone requires a high level of energy in your tank. You know how it goes. Your energy gets consumed by questions like, do you have a minute? We're out of copy or paper. Where might we get some more? Can we order some more? Hey, can you sign this requisition form? What's the PO number for that again? And oh, who's covering that class today? Oh, when will the board packet be ready? Is it too late to get one more thing into the board packet? And when we are bombarded by those hundreds of decisions all day long, it takes an emotional, mental, and physical energy toll on us. And it's at those moments when our energy is already depleted that we become much more susceptible to the overthinking and second guessing. So we've looked at potential diagnoses around overthinking and what that looks like and sounds like and feels like. So what do we do about it in order to achieve that quality leadership life fit? Well, there are a variety of strategies that cut across the multiple different examples and types of overthinking. One starts with being selective about what you choose to let in. And what I mean by that is, what news do you choose to watch and how often? What social media do you choose to scroll through? And how do you feel as a result of that? If the social media that you view, if the news that you watch contributes or triggers you to worrying about the future, overanalyzing different things, you might want to rethink how much time you give to each of those and what that looks like, or where you focus your attention, or where else might you get your news if you want to stay abreast of certain types of news, like education news, for example. So being selective about what you choose to let in can be a powerful strategy for helping us navigate overthinking. Another strategy that's really helpful in helping shift down from our overthinking tendency is to apply the 10-10-10 test or some form of that. You choose, but I would imagine you've heard of this before. When you're faced with a decision, how will you feel 10 weeks from now? How will you feel 10 months from now? How will you feel 10 years from now? The 10-10-10 test, the 5-5-5 test, the increment of time you choose to apply isn't as significant as actually inviting your brain to entertain that question. And in doing so, you help right size the challenge. Sometimes we find ourselves deliberating and overthinking things that don't have the significance of impact on our priorities that other things do. And so you want to be able to save your energy for the things that matter most. And so the 10-10-10 rule can help you discern whether a particular issue that's roiling around in your mind and in your thoughts is worth the time you're spending thinking about it. And if it's not going to matter in 10 weeks, let alone 10 months, 10 years, make a decision and move on and free your brain up to give its attention, its energy to the things that have the greatest impact on your priorities. Another strategy to consider is, how might you routinize some of your tasks? So again, you're going to be facing hundreds of decisions a day. And you know that at the end of the day, you're more prone to overthinking things because you're tired. So how can you build up those energy reserves by developing routines? And these things can look like saving yourself the decision of what we're having for supper tonight by meal prepping on the Sunday before the week starts, knowing what your menus for the week are going to be, or saving yourself the energy of deciding what you're going to wear every day by knowing what outfits you plan to wear each day of the week. The more things that you can routinize and the more energy you can conserve, the more energy you free up for the things that, again, impact your greatest priorities. Another strategy is to trust your gut and your intuition. So oftentimes we are so busy in the day-to-day that we lose touch with ourselves from the neck down, what our bodies are telling us. We talked about that in last month's episode, listening from the neck down. Here again, spending time in meditation or quiet time with yourself, 3 minutes. Amazingly enough, our guts are a vast neural network. There are over 100 million neurons lining your entire digestive tract. 100 million. I just think that's so amazing. That's more neurons than are found in the spinal cord. And so the message around that, what we can take away from that is that our guts have incredible processing ability. Your intuition is very powerful. I mean, that is why they call it a gut decision, right? You felt that in the pit of your gut when you're faced with a difficult decision. And so our brains and our guts are intended to work together. And when you are approaching that decision intuitively, your brain is checking in with your gut. What do I know about my memories, my past learnings, my personal needs, my preferences? Okay, where's that leading me in terms of the wisest decision, knowing what I know? And so intuition and being able to trust your gut is another powerful way, a powerful tool for helping you avoid overthinking. Now, if you have been separated from your instinct for a while, this might take some redeveloping. You might find that meditation can help you redevelop your connection to your intuition and your gut instinct. Another strategy that can help us with our overthinking is simply to pull the trigger and set a date, a deadline for yourself. I'm going to make this decision by X. And then make the decision with the best information that you have at the time. And then set a date to evaluate. Hey, how's it going? What did I miss? What do we need to do differently? Are things working? What could we tweak? And again, being satisfied with that. Remember, a job well done isn't a job perfectly done. It's about getting it done well, getting it done to the best of your abilities. And sometimes that means redefining for ourselves what success looks like. You may have heard of the 80-20 rule. I remind myself of this when I'm working on different tasks. Oftentimes, the bulk of your work, your best results happen in that first 80% of the time you commit. The last 20%, you aren't going to see the same kind of ROI. So recognizing when, okay, I'm really spending too much time on this last 20%, I've got it, I'm ready to go. Whether it's a message to the school board, it's a newsletter, it's an email, it's a plan, a project, whatever that might look like at any given time in your school year, thinking about, okay, that 80-20 rule. Am I at that 20% spot right now? And will I get the ROI for the time I'm putting forth at this point in time? We can also interrupt our overthinking with some self-reflective questions. What's one thing I could do today? So when I'm feeling overwhelmed by my overthinking, what is one thing I could do today that would bring me closer to my goal, to my vision? Based on what I know and the information I have in this moment, what's my next littlest thing? Sometimes it takes those reflective questions to interrupt our thinking and provide us an opportunity to take a different perspective. Overthinking certainly is very popular, very common, and we have enough to think about with overthinking and overcomplicating things. So I invite you to pick any one of those strategies and give it a try. And then take a moment to think about, did that work for me? Do I have more energy and am I spending it more wisely? I'm wishing you a fantastic and quality leadership life fit. Thanks for joining me.